What's going on, guys? My name is Joey Franzo with Flex Training Systems, and today going to be bringing you a video talking about bodybuilding and powerlifting and how they are a lot more similar than you guys might think. This question has come up a lot from multiple different people over the last couple weeks. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on, but people seem to be asking a lot, and I figured I would address it here. Really quickly before we get into the video, just some updates. So for those of you who picked up any of the apparel, really thankful for that. I think this was the biggest sale we ever had, but that's probably because we had socks, which is a new item. So thank you guys for that. Going to try and come out with more cool flex gear. Updates with me. I'm doing a podcast in an hour with Danny Lennon. He's interviewed some pretty cool guys. Lane Norton, Eric Helms, Greg Knuckles, Mike Ezratail, a bunch of MMA fighters, a bunch of doctors and people with high credentials in academia. So that's going to be pretty cool. Hopefully I can not make myself look like a fool with all those smart dudes up in the mix. And also, for those of you that have been following along, I told you guys that I hurt my back not too long ago, and then it got better. It got good enough to train, and I hadn't gone to get any help or anything, but I was having some trouble sleeping. I just had like a lot of scar tissue, and it was very difficult for me to twist left or right. I actually finally I went to a chiropractor, my girlfriend's chiropractor. Her name is Sadie Sanders. She's actually really knowledgeable, and I'm like the most skeptical person ever. I'm not just gonna do what a doctor tells me. I'm gonna like question them, which they hate. But she was able to find out where I was hurt right away, and then just give me a quick adjustment, and then we did some grass and then an adjustment to kind of loosen things up. And I felt like it felt like a knuckle that needed to be cracked, and it finally got cracked in my back after I was unable to crack my back because of all that scar tissue. And I have like more mobility on my right side, and I'm gonna go back today, fix it up on the left. So I know you guys know I'm a big fan of like just kind of letting your body do its thing and not going to get worked on. Like, some people are just so trigger happy with the chiro, but sometimes like I waited 2 weeks and I didn't see any improvement. It felt like it was getting worse, so then I went to got help, and I'm feeling great, feeling fantastic. Gonna go hit some squats today. Probably gonna die with like 585-ish. But anyway, into the video. Powerlifting and bodybuilding. I get this question all the time, and people constantly ask me, "Hey Joey, can I add bodybuilding movements? Hey Joey, do you mind if I do some curls or whatever?" And they'll say something like, "Can we gear my training? Can we add more bodybuilding to my training?" And in a lot of my trainings, I already have the stuff in there that's going to hit the points that we're not adjusting with the big three. If you think about squat, bench, and deadlift, squats, you're working many different parts of your leg. Your glutes are a big mover there. Bench, pecs, shoulders, triceps, and maybe some core to stabilize, and then deadlift using erectors should be stabilizing. If you round, then obviously your erectors are going to have to flex a little bit. Your glutes are going to be what moves the weight off the ground, and your hamstrings are involved. A little bit of quads, and it's like if the muscle is not being hit in those movements, then then you can add some stuff on top of it, and it shouldn't affect you too much because it's not a main mover or it's not a key component in the compound lift anyway. Although you can argue how much rear delts, biceps, medial delts, all that stuff carry over to the big three. I've seen good results doing things like lat pull downs, bicep curls, I rarely do them. I try to do them, but they're just not fun. Medial delt, so dumbbell lateral raises, maybe some face pulls, maybe some rear delt flies, any direct lat work, medial shoulder work, and a little bit of arm work, and you should be, for the most part, you're going to be fine. If you want to do some hamstring curls on top of it, sure. I don't really like leg extensions. It's just a lot of shearing on the leg, and you're already stressing the patella so much. That why risk it? You know what I mean? But if you look at a lot of really strong powerlifters out there, especially like in the top classes, they're all like really lean, and they're all jacked as hell. Guys like John Hack, Jesse Norris. Not only Jesse Norris, but there are other, like the 93 class has just got a bunch of like jack shredded freaks in it. 83s are pretty damn lean. A lot of the 74s are super duper lean, and maybe even 66 kilo class. So a lot of those guys are super lean, and even if you're looking at the bigger weight classes, the 120s and the super heavies, those guys have a ton of muscle on them. Yeah, there's some fat too. And they can use that weight in conjunction with their muscle to help them move more weight. But, there's no powerlifter that's going to not have a substantial amount of muscle. Just like that raw, just kind of, if they don't train any of those little accessories, they're going to have a shit ton of muscle, but they're going to look, you can kind of tell, like they may not have as much lats, although some guys get a lot of lat growth from just deadlifting. You might need to do a little extra arm work, a little extra medial delt work, but a lot of powerlifters that I know, I've coached 2 500+ benchers that have my gigantic arms, and we don't do any direct arm work. A lot of that has to do with, just hitting those compound lifts are going to train those smaller muscles anyway, which like decreases the value of those isolation movements. I can tell you right now that my medial tricep would not be where it's at without bench press. There's just not enough, weight that I can load on that plane to hit that area and build as much muscle as I have on it. My biceps are small, but my triceps are actually pretty significant, and my pecs, and that's how I'm able to move when I move, despite having lacking medial delts, although I do, I'm constantly doing stuff for them. And I feel like, trying to bring up those shoulders, it's good for prehab and rehab. Just, you want to be strong all around. Maybe you don't care about aesthetics as much, but you can use these movements, to kind of just fill in the gaps where we're weak. Because, what happens if one day you misgroove and you have to use a muscle that you're not used to using in a certain way, and then you tear something or you get really hurt? Nobody wants to do that. That is no fun. But I think I have mentioned this once before, a while back, just talking about how having a big back translates to everything, which is why I typically have some supplemental additional back movements in there. If you can build your back outside of the big three, it's going to give you a better shelf for squat. It's going to help with stability and on bench and more control, and obviously on deadlift, having a good big back is great. And when you're training all those rowing movements, you're still working your grip, you're working your forearms, you're working your biceps, you're working all that stuff, which is going to potentially help in the deadlift. So a lot of like very knowledgeable bodybuilders in the off season, they train powerlifting to pack on muscle, and it's a really practical way to help you kind of look at something and see results. So what am I talking about? Like when you're dieting, the scale may not move the way you want it to, so it can be very discouraging, even though you're in a deficit. But in powerlifting, if you're adding 5 pounds to the bar, 2 pounds to the bar, whatever, even though it's incremental, you're moving in the right direction. So, for those bodybuilders in the off season that maybe aren't getting what they want on the scale, they can still improve somewhere, which is going to translate over when they do shred up again. You know, tons of knowledgeable bodybuilders train big compound lifts. They are not that far away from each other. If you're training the big three and you're doing it, you know, intelligently, progressing on them, you only need to add in a couple little things to help supplement. And if you're working with me, a lot of that stuff is in there anyway. A lot of the guys that you see that you want to look like, they just look like that. They can train whatever, and they're just going to look like that. They're going to have that shape. You can't change your bone structure. You know, they're going to have good aesthetics whether they're doing bodybuilding movements or not. Those bodybuilding movements may help. How much it helps after a certain point, maybe not that much, maybe a lot. But everybody's different. You can't change the cards you were dealt. But one thing is for sure, everybody can get stronger. I don't care, you know, if you don't like the way that you look, every single person, listen to this right now, you can be stronger in a couple months than you were right now. And that's definitely one of the great things about powerlifting, is that anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. Anybody can get stronger. Anybody can improve. Not everybody can look like Phil Heath. Phil Heath's kind of main thing is, you know, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. But when talent works hard, it's over. It's game over. He's got a point. He's definitely got a point there, and that's, you know, it's hard to deal. You know, it's hard to swallow that if you're one of those guys that wants to be the best, and you know there's a guy next to you who, you know, just kind of has those genes, but he might have a bad day. You know, all you can do is put yourself in the best position to succeed and then capitalize. But alrighty, guys, it's gone over 10 minutes. I hope you guys are able to take something away from that. But yeah, they are not that far from each other. Powerlifters and bodybuilders are both brothers in iron, and we should, you know, try not to look at them so differently. And that being said, hope you guys like the video, and I will talk to you in the next one.